Hello and welcome to another comedian's interview for my blog and podcast, A Rich Comic Life. My name is Richard Gill and my blog describes my experiences of watching over 1,500 comedians for the last 50 years. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today. It's the comedian Carl Carzana. Yay!
Thank you. Come on.
Hello!
Hey, how's it going?
I'm alright, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Can't complain. I've got, busy, but all stuff that's fun. So
That's great. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, no, it's
Brilliant. Well, the interview is going to last about an hour. It's going to be all about your comedy career. And I'd like you to go back to the start, please, and reply, how did you become a comedian in the first place?
So I think when I started doing comedy, I had wanted to do it since about the age of like 18. And my friends all said like, oh, you should do comedy. But I was quite a like shy kind of kid. So I never really like took the plunge. Or I just thought that if you did comedy, you'd just be heckled straight away and it'd just be horrible. So I didn't do it for ages. And then when I was about 25, I was outside a pub and I told a joke to just a guy. And he was like, oh, that's pretty funny. You should be a comedian. And I was like, I'll do it. So then I went over to Brighton, did a course there, and then just like did the course and kind of learned how to write jokes and kind of what stand-up is about. And then after that, just kind of figured out on my own the sort of comedian that I am, which took a lot longer than like the course did. But I think, yeah, I'm in a place now where I think like I kind of do the sort of comedy that I would want to go and watch, which, yeah, for me is the most important thing.
Are you based in Brighton then? Because a lot of other comedians are.
So at the minute I'm in North London,
Right.
but I've moved around quite a lot. So I was in Brighton, Manchester, Oxford, and
Wow.
then North London. So I've kind of like done like a 4 around the country.
Lots of
Um,
good comedy spots.
yeah, it's that thing of like I tend to move to an area, work up my reputation to a point where I could get paid work in that area, and then I move like hundreds of miles away just so that I never make a profit.
Well, it's very tough. My hometown is Carlisle, way up
Oh,
north,
nice.
and I am delighted to be from there, obviously. But they do have a comedy scene up there, but it's very slight. To be fair to it, it has got a lot better over the years. But I've been living in London for the last 30 years, and of course you can go to a comedy night every day if you want to.
And for someone like you, that's a bit of a boon.
Yes, of course. So when you decided to become a comedian, did you start off by doing 5-minute slots in pubs and things like that? Is that how you got in?
Sort of, yeah. So the course that I did in Brighton was at Comedia, and the culmination of that course is that you do like a 3-minute set at Comedia as like your first ever gig, which like obviously is amazing because the audience is just full of like friends and family. So like you'd have to really try quite hard to die at that gig. So everyone goes out, does 3 minutes, like I think I might be the best comedian that's ever lived, and then you go do a proper
Yes.
gig. You go do like a proper one, you're like, oh no, people are just being really nice. So that was like my first ever gig, and then my gig after that, it was for a friend of mine called Sam. It was called Sam Stravaganza, and I essentially just went on stage, said the words, and then pretty much ran away. Um, just because like it was quite an intense situation, but I
Yeah.
think that was 2016. I feel like I was quite lucky to start then because I think now I've kind of noticed this trend. I don't know if it's just me that thinks this, but I think newer comics now, it kind of feels like there's this thing where they need to come out fully formed and like can't have a bad gig. Like, from the get-go, they have to be brilliant. Whereas I was like rubbish for like ages, but I had so much time to like learn and make mistakes and take risks. Whereas I think to me, it feels like that's a luxury that new acts don't really have anymore because it's like the 5-year time that you could be eligible for competitions, you need to get brilliant straight away. And I find it a bit like it's just sad because I feel like I'm now a more creative comedian because I had that time to just
Yeah.
muck around and find out what works. And yeah, I think probably now like newer acts don't really have that luxury.
It's so interesting you say that because a lot of the comedians who I've spoken to, I always say to them, I can imagine that you have to have a bad gig in order to be a better comedian,
Yeah,
and it's all experience. So the more experience you get, the better you get at it, whether it's good or bad.
yeah. Like there was a time where I would only book gigs that I'd heard were rubbish because I wanted to like have that intensive thing of like just go and do all the shit ones, so
Yeah,
you come out of it like tougher. And which like did help and stuff, but it's like I think also like after about I think it's about nearly 8 years that I've been doing it now. I'm just like the idea of going to a gig that I know is going to be terrible. I'm like, there's so many better things I could do, like and better gigs.
you need me in every gig you're at to really get it going.
Yeah, I mean that was the great thing at Sofa So Funny where we met. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're just a great audience member, and
It's
I
well,
think
you're
that's a
very
nice gig as
kind.
well.
I was going to say you were particularly impressive that night
Oh,
because
thank you very much.
what I love about your act is that you're very left field. You never know what you're going to get, and that
Yeah,
and I love that. There are so many great comedians who you think they're going to go one way and they're going down another road. It's so good.
I've always preferred that style of comedy. Like, I
Yeah,
think if the audience is engaged, whether they like my stuff or not, I don't care too much. But as long as they don't just sit there in their seat going, "I know what this is. I'm going to switch off now." And I always think about people like Harry Hill when he started out, because I always kind of think like you're an idiot until you're successful, then you're a genius.
yeah.
Like there must be people when Harry Hill started out going like, "What is this guy doing?" But like now everyone's like, "Harry Hill's such a genius," and he is. But like when you start out, you've really got to prove yourself, and if you do something a bit different, you really have to like back it. Um, but yeah, that's such a nice gig that we met at, and yeah, I'm really pleased you said that because I always want to try and stand out a bit and take a
Very much
risk.
so. Well done, you. I'm
Cheers.
looking forward to seeing you again soon. And it's interesting what you say about Harry Hill. He was one of the first comedians I saw when I first came to London. And I used to live North London, Stoke Newington, and he used to play downstairs at the King's Head a lot in
Oh, cool.
Crouch End, which I love. It's a great pub.
Yeah.
And to this day, he has the best opening line to any gig I've ever heard. He brushed past me, this 30 odd years ago, he brushed past me, jumped up on the stage and went, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry I'm late for this gig. I had to have a testicle brought down." And there was a pause and a laugh. And then he said, "From Derby." And when I met him 25 years later, he went, "Rich, I still tell that to this day." What was brilliant about him was he had five different jokes going at once,
Yeah.
and one line from one and one line from another. And that was genius because you had to engage with it and keep listening to what he had to say.
And he's that's sort of like he has that energy that I think I have a bit as well, but it's taken me a while to kind of figure it out. But
Yeah,
it's kind of like a chaotic, high energy act. Like
yeah,
I don't know, it's sort of like the momentum is always really fast with his act, but like you say, he's doing like three or four different things at once. And I think that to me is really impressive because like he's a guy who likes gags and one-liners, but also is alternative, like bit of
yeah,
clowning. Like there's so many different things going on.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, that's what I like. It's just really fun and engaging, I think.
So when you're on stage with your left field act, which is wonderful, um, do you have any themes or anything you specifically like to talk about? Do you have anything you specifically like to talk about on stage?
Not particularly, because I think it's I think it's quite funny just to make it all up.
Yeah,
Like I think for quite a few years I tried to kind of slightly shoehorn myself into that kind of anecdotal, like cheeky chap kind of thing, but it wasn't really my sense of humor, so I was still trying to be weird within it. And I just think like with that, I kind of was like, "Hi, I'm Carl," and I was like telling them a lot of stuff about myself, and then I kind of realized that they don't really care because like you do a gig and like even if it goes brilliantly, most audience members will go, "Oh yeah, there was this guy who was yeah, he was fine," but they're not really gonna necessarily remember you from the other six acts, which is fine. So I then just thought it would just be funnier just to make stuff up and like just different little facts about myself. Or if there's a joke I want to tell about a specific thing, I'll just say that I did it. Like I have a joke about Mexico. So I was like, yeah, I went on holiday to Mexico. I've never been there, but I just thought like just the audience don't really care if it's true, they just care if it's funny. So yeah, so I tend to veer go the opposite way to being truthful and honest. Like if I can make it up and make it a lie, that to me is a lot more fun than being like earnest and
That's magic.
heart on your sleeve. Yeah.
That's magic. I love that. I love making it up as you're going along. You're like flying off the seat of your pants, but when it works, by God, it flies.
Well, thank you. I think like every night should be different as well. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be one of those comedians who comes out and does the exact same set of jokes, like word for word every night. I'd rather react to the room, which I think I did quite a bit on the night that you saw me at So Funny. It's like if there's stuff happening in the room, like you're doing your job well, I think, if you react to that and you give that audience something that you don't do any other night, it's just specific to there. So I try and stay open to that and try and improvise a bit as well.
That's brilliant. Tell me about your writing process for a routine or a show. Do you have a specific process?
I do. I mean, it's not it's not a complicated one. I basically walk around my room as if I'm doing a gig and just sort of go through the bit as many times as I need to like get the funny lines that I know are in it. Because often like I've made a note of an idea that I think would be funny. So I've got a starting point that I want to talk about, but I've never been someone who's been able to just sit down at a desk and be like, here's 20 jokes about like buses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would just write 20 like pretty bad jokes about buses, I think. But if I'm like up and moving about, things come into my mind that I wouldn't sit down and write because I'm pretending I'm doing a gig. So I do that and then I'll take it to a gig. And then once the words are kind of in a specific order and it's getting to a place where it feels like it's kind of set, then I'll write it down. But until that point, I just kind of do it by memory so that each time I'm kind of chipping away at it and making the bit stronger and like more organized as I do it at more gigs. If that makes sense.
So, if you're at a gig and you've got a routine,
Yeah.
are you happy to fly by the seat of your pants should something happen with an audience? Are you happy to try and make something funny on the spot because you like the spontaneity?
Yeah, I think I probably prefer that because I spent quite a few years emceeing and now I MC my own gig in Brighton, which the next one is November 29th. It's called Boasting Show and it's a reverse roast battle. So
Right.
comics, it's like a roast battle, but they have to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Which is like it's always really good fun, like with getting good audiences and they're enjoying it. But I MC that in persona, so I feel like I figured out how to like improvise within my persona, and I would much rather do that than kind of recite 20 routines or whatever. Um, yeah, and I think for a while I did go too far the other way where I'd improvise too much. I get to the end of a set, I'd be like, well, I've done one joke, but learned everything about this guy in the front row. So I have to
Yeah.
like kind of balance it out. But yeah, I do prefer that, I think, the improvising bit.
Do you prefer emceeing to delivering a routine?
I think sometimes I do. It kind of depends how I'm like feeling like in real life. Like with at Boast and Show, I can MC and like 20 minutes can go by and it'll feel like five. Just because like when you're in it and like it's my audience as well, so they kind of know what they're getting themselves in for and stuff. Because it's a bit of an alternative night, but it's really like fun and friendly. So like emceeing that is just really silly, and I really like having that opportunity to just muck around and make stuff up. So yeah, I think if it's that gig, I do prefer it. Although I have had times in the past before I was running my own gig where I'd MC someone else's gig, and like if you die as the MC, you die on behalf of everyone for the whole night because all the acts are like, great, this fucking shit MC's just ruined the night, and now I've got to shake his hand when I walk on stage. Brilliant.
Yeah, there is that pressure, I suppose.
But that doesn't really touch wood. That doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah,
Mainly because I do my own gig as well, so I'm in
yeah,
charge
yeah.
anyway. But yeah, and I do feel sometimes delivering a routine or a set can go into that thing where it feels like you're reciting it. And yeah, I think I just prefer the opportunity to be a bit looser
Yeah.
and just like kind of naturally funny on the night rather than here's all my great ideas. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And another thing I love about your act is that you appear to be very confident on stage and very enthusiastic. You're determined to make that audience laugh.
thank you.
I can't imagine you ever having a bad gig. Do you have examples of bad gigs and good gigs?
Well, bless you, Richard. You're absolutely correct. I've never died in my life. I'm
Like
really
so
proud of it.
many other comedians.
But no, I appreciate you saying that because I think for a long time, like naturally, I'm quite a sort of slightly nervous, quite shy person in real life. Like, socially quite good, but it's a thing that you just switch on like when you're doing a gig. And I think maybe about a year or two ago, I kind of figured out that when I do a gig, I have a persona. So it just kind of made sense to me that if I treat the persona like a character and then myself as myself, it's kind of like a team. So I'll arrange the gig, drive there, freak out about it for like the whole way there. But then as soon as the MC's like, "Welcome to stage, Carl Carzana," I just have to flick the switch. It's like, "Oh, okay, come on, all right, come on now, thanks, guys. Okay, that's lovely. Cheers." Like just muck around and sort of that for me is the only way to get on. Like I realize that like the walk on stage is your first joke. So like if you're not being funny as you walk on stage, which I think is another Harry Hill thing, Steve Martin as well, like you've kind of missed an opportunity to show them you're funny before you said anything, or like before you've got to the mic. So I started doing that, and things just kind of turned around because whereas before I might have gigs where, like, they might not go so great because I'm walking up to the stage looking nervous and then pretending to be calm. I just kind of embrace the fact that I just have to dial it up for that like 10, 20 minutes and just play this character, which is why I think on stage I'll probably look more confident than I am. And it's an act for that amount of time. But to actually answer your question, so I was thinking about this. I think probably it sounds really boastful, but probably one of my favorite like times being on stage was at my own gig, which is based on the show which I was talking about. Because each show is themed, and we did one for National Mechanical Pencil Day, but we kind of played it as if like that was like the same as Christmas. So I was like, "Thanks so much for coming, guys. I appreciate you probably usually be with your families." And at the end, I kind of sprung it on the audience. I was like, "Okay, so we'll all just stand up and we'll do the National Mechanical Pencil Day national anthem." And then like this room full of people just sit, and I just made up a song. I was like, "National Mechanical." And like by the end of it, we're going like, "Day," and they're all just like fully into it, like shouting the word National Mechanical Pencil Day. And I just kind of looked at, those moments where you kind of are outside of yourself a little bit. You just look around, you're like, "This is mad, but brilliant."
Yeah.
And I like that with that gig, the audience kind of take a risk and they go with it. So that's probably one of my favorite experiences, just like making that happen.
That's
but
fantastic.
Then the worst, I think, I really like it. And I think it's like a positive thing about that gig. And the gig has a positive ethos anyway. But then probably the worst one, I did a gig in a hostel like years ago. I was only like a year in or something. But I didn't realize it was a hostel. So I was on stage. I was like, "Oh, this is a chilled out pub. Like that guy's got slippers on. He's in his pajamas." I was like, "Oh, they live here." And in one of those gigs where like there wasn't an audience, like somebody just put on a gig and like the people in the pub just had to put up with it, which, happens a lot when you first start, but you don't know until you get there. So you just have to try and like a year in, all you've got is your jokes. So you just try and get through it. And then the guy at the bar, he didn't like heckle or shout. He just really calmly through the silence went, "The thing is, mate, you're just not funny." But like really
No.
calmly.
Oh.
I didn't really know how to respond. So I was just like, "Yeah, okay."
All experience.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
mate.
if it ever happens again, I'll know what to do.
God.
Yeah.
But you're mentioning wonderful comedy heroes. Steve Martin is one of mine. I'm very lucky to get an article in the British Comedy Guide website, which is celebrating the 50 years, and it's 25 show moments, and Steve Martin's in there. He was always my greatest film comedian. That run of films with Carl Reiner, he did about 10 of them. They were fantastic, and they were all through my college years and everything. Yeah. And I got to see him with his bluegrass band at the Hammersmith Apollo, and he came on, and as you say, they were laughing before he did anything. And the encore was King Tut with the towel. and to remember that, because I remember from Steve Martin Live, the DVD, one of the first DVDs I ever got. And he was massive in America and walked away. and then became a film star. But good call. I mean, Steve Martin again is very off field, and that's what I
Yeah.
love about him. It was so good. You mentioned earlier on about nerves.
Yeah.
Do you get any nerves before you go on stage, and if so, how do you cope with them?
So yeah, I mean, not as bad as I used to when I first started. I think when I first started, I was like, "What am I doing?" And like over over the years, I just kind of they got less. But I definitely feel nervous because every time I do a gig, I want it to be good every time. Like I'm not a comedian that will just go out and kind of like half-ass it and just go like, "This is what I do every night." I feel like I have to engage in the gig fully every time. So every time I do a gig, I'm like, "This could go like so badly wrong." But I think I've kind of realized as well that was just myself telling me that because like you naturally kind of feel nervous and tell yourself it's going to be shit, but it takes an effort to tell yourself it's going to be good. So I started doing that for a while, like just before a gig, like just being like, I'm a good comedian. I've done this for a long time. People have laughed at me before. Just like
Yeah. Well, it's
reassuring myself.
all positive. You have to keep positive. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I think once I figured out that my persona is a character and it's different to me, that's when it really clicked for me. Like I was looking at Joe Wilkinson, and I think he does a similar thing. Like he has a persona that is a character that has his name, but like if he's on Catster's Countdown playing the game, he's a comedian on Catster's Countdown. But if he's in like Dictionary Corner or whatever, that's Joe Wilkinson the character. And it just I've struck me there's like all this like film footage of this guy doing two things in the same show. And I was like, I just found it really interesting. So I thought if I split the two, it's like as myself, excuse me, as myself, I can be nervous about the gig and worry about it. But as my persona, I just flip the switch and my persona just doesn't care. And they're like, Greg, huh?
That's brilliant. Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think my act has got a bit more chaotic since that, but it just sort of feels like I have to sort of rev myself up and then just let myself go. Because if I hold back on stage with the sort of material I'm doing, if for a second, if the audience are like, oh, he doesn't believe in it, they'll just stop laughing. Whereas if I'm like, guys, this is really good stuff, like it actually
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
So yeah, that's how I deal with it now. I just kind of try and was it compartmentalize the two and
Deep compartmentalize. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What a
Um,
stupid word.
it is. I've seen Joe Wilkinson many times live, and he's a big supporter of this blog and podcast. He is superb at characterization, and one of the best sketches he ever did when he was with Diane Morgan doing the
Yeah.
MASH sketch, and she walked out. I was sitting in the front row. She walked out. She walked straight up to me and gave me the finger, and for about 3 minutes, just really that. And I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what to do. And he came up to her and tapped her on the shoulder, and he went, "I've told you that invisible cloak doesn't work." It was a great line. He is such a brilliant character comedian, but when you meet him in real life, he's charm itself. He's lovely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've met
and
him
I
a
think a
couple of
lot of them
times.
are
Really
like that.
nice.
Nick Helm's another one who's very
Yeah.
aggressive, but when you meet him, he's very talkative and chatty, and it is all this wonderful character persona that you've all got, and it's exactly what you're saying. With your character, you just switch from one to another, and it's great. It's so good. Um,
Sometimes I find myself doing it in conversations. I'm like, okay, all right, come on, guys.
you have to double take. Think what's going on. How do you remember all your routines with the character? Do you have pointers in your head? Do you put them on notes? Do you put them on your hand? How do you do it? How do you link it all?
So I've never put it on my hand because I just don't think I'm smooth enough to like casually go. Anyway, so what I was like, I think I tried it once. I was like, what does that say? Okay, right. So guys, so just like that was never an option for me. But I think because I am a bit of a like over preparer, it's weird because I think on stage I probably look like I'm just making it up and just doing whatever, and like maybe just kind of mucking around, and there's not really any like structure to it. But like it's all really like planned out, and I always think of a bit as like a setup and a punch. but that can be anything. It could be like visual. Like I've got a thing about my zip, and wherever that is located on my torso, that's how well I think the gig is going. And I explain that to the audience at the beginning. And I'm like, anyway, see, and if the zip is fully undone, then that means they have to give me a standing ovation. And then, and they're like, yeah,
you
okay,
did that at Surface of Funny because we did.
I do insist as well. I leave the stage. I'm like, okay, oh, no one, okay, fair enough. But then like, I like it because it's got like a visual callback as well, where like, I do the whole thing with zip, and then if I get a big laugh, I'll pull the zip down, and that means things are going well now. So I kind of think with stuff like that, it looks like I'm kind of making it up or like I'm just sort of being silly. But I will do that every gig and like try and make it look improvised each time or like just not rehearsed. But so yeah, so it looks like it's kind of improvised, but it is all planned. And so I think on the way to the gig, I always try and run through everything at least twice in my head.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be on stage trying to remember what comes next. I just want to know that it's like in my head. And then as soon as the gig starts, I just have to just trust that I'm going to remember it. Because I think there was years where I was like, even though I said some of these jokes hundreds of times, in my head I was like, well, you're definitely going to forget it. But as soon as I stopped telling myself that, I actually just remembered it. Because 10 minutes isn't a lot of, like 10, 20 minutes isn't a lot of stuff to remember, really.
So. What's fascinating is if you look at somebody like Frankie Howard, he gave the impression he was making it up on the spot, but every ooh and ah was scripted. And that's fascinating because so he must have had to have something there, like a prop, to remind him what to do if he needed reminding. He knew what was coming next.
Well, and I think with like even oohs and ahs and stuff like that, like everything you do on stage can elicit a laugh. Like I did a bit recently about, I always find it funny to do jokes that are like quite hack, but I'm slightly taking the piss out of it. So like a lot of comics will do a thing of like, oh, I look like so and so, but they've let themselves go. So I thought it'd be really funny to do one of those jokes where I'd made up the celebrity, and then I'd berate the audience for not knowing who it is. And so I did it at a gig last week, and I was like, "Know what you're thinking? I know what you're thinking. You're sat there, you're thinking it. I know what you're thinking." And I did that for like a minute, and the audience will give you like a push and pull of like when it's too much, when they want more. And I was like, I know what you're thinking. Like just doing a bit higher makes it like a performance. And then I said, yeah, you sat there, you're thinking Chester the Blainbridge has let himself go. And they'll just like have a go at them, be like, guys, the whole rest of my set is about Chester. Like that's fucked, isn't it? I'm ruined.
And you mentioned about possibly forgetting stuff. I mean, you're very, as I say, off the wall, so you do keep going with it. Other than this blog, the most creative thing I ever did was write a play, which me and my friend put on for Comic Relief. We raised a lot of money, and I wrote it for the Edinburgh Fringe, which hopefully one day it'll go on. And I wrote this, and it was like monologue for me. And then me and my friend would talk and monologue and friend whatever. And I didn't realise that I'd wrote all these monologues because when I ran out the first night, I forgot the lines. And I just thought, I want to go home. This is not happening. But of course, as soon as he came on, we could chat off each other and bring it back and all the rest of it. I suppose comedians do that with an audience. If they're feeling it's not going so well, they've got the audience as a backup. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you can definitely, I think some comics do it better than others. I think like maybe most comics would assume that you could just do crowd work and that any comic can do it. But I think like MCing for a while will definitely teach you how to do that. But yeah, some are naturally better at it than others, I think. And I think if you ever see a comic say, what else can I tell you about me? That's like, I've forgotten everything.
yeah. Believe me, I've been there. Come on, you did it.
And that's the end of my set. Thanks very much.
Yeah. They finish very early. You know. Okay, let's move on. So I'm very, very fortunate to be able to go to Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Fringe every year. Not only Edinburgh do I love, that's my holiday. I go for a week and I see about 50 shows. I need a holiday by the time I come back. I've also branched out and gone to a lot more fringes and festivals. I love to go. I go to Leicester, I go to Brighton, I go to Hull, I go to Hastings. Absolutely love it. I've got some friends who come along with me. I design spreadsheets that are so detailed with all the acts and everything on, and we get a really good mixture of everything. What's your experience of the Edinburgh Fringe and fringes and festivals in general? When did you first go up? If you've been, have you gone as a punter? Have you performed with different comedians? Have you had solo shows? That sort of thing.
So I think the first time I went up was like maybe like a year or two before the pandemic.
Right.
And like a friend of mine, well, yeah, me and a friend, we like took turns emceeing a compilation show, but another friend of ours had like paid for the room and everything, so we were like working for him essentially, but we basically just went up and like had a gig to run every day.
Yeah.
It was like quite early in the morning, and it was really good fun. But like because it was so early, quite often you get people who just arrived into Edinburgh, like off a plane or train or whatever, and they just needed somewhere to like sleep. So loads of people just come in. It was at City Cafe, so the rooms were like would get
Oh
quite
yeah,
hot.
yeah, yeah. I know it well. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that venue. I think I'm gonna go up next year. I think that's the one I'd want, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
that's my
yeah,
top choice. And partly as well because like it doesn't take a huge amount to fill up like one of those rooms.
yeah.
But yeah, so like every day we'd be trying to do the show, and then like there'd just be somebody asleep in the back row, like not in an out of order way. They were just really tired. We sort
We've
of
all been there.
got to the point where we were like, yeah, okay, just at the back. Yeah, no. But yeah, that was really good fun. And I've been as a punter a few times and just done spots. I never went before I did stand up. It was always once I started doing comedy. Just because I mean it's worse now, but it is expensive to go up there even just to watch it. It's
It
a
is
lot.
a shame. It's such a shame. Yeah,
I think to a point where it's sort of becoming detrimental. I think like something's got to give
yeah.
because
I
like how
totally
people,
agree.
yeah, and I think like you were saying about the smaller festivals like Bath, Brighton, Hull, Hastings as well. Hastings is a really good one. So I'm from Hastings, so I've done that a couple of times.
Oh, you're from
Um,
Hastings.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow, well done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lovely place. I'm thinking of, genuinely. I'm thinking of retiring there.
It's nice because
It's a
you've got the
lovely
old
place.
town.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the old towns like Brighton, and then the new town's a bit more like
yeah, yeah,
built up and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, so and I think my hope is that like Edinburgh will, I hope, become a bit more affordable, but also I think it would be good if some of the smaller festivals kind of took up some of the slack. So I think
yeah,
this model of like you have to bankrupt yourself to go up to Edinburgh to get a career in comedy isn't workable. And it's put me off doing a solo show for a long time because it's just a huge amount of money to invest in something that should be like at least affordable. Like I'm not
yeah,
expecting
yeah,
to go out for free, but
yeah.
you know,
A million percent agree. I mean, I first went up to Edinburgh. I absolutely love it, and I have not had a bad fringe. Let's get that out of the way. I love it,
I would second that as well. I do enjoy
I
it.
now, because of the success of the podcast, I was invited to VIP passes and all the rest of it, and it's lovely. I
Yeah,
absolutely, I really love it. However, when I first went, one of my favourite ever places is the Pleasance Courtyard. I
yeah,
like to get a pint of Guinness, sit down, and just watch the world go by, and it's all the comedians and all the rest of it. And when I first went there, it was a proper fringy, grungy, wonderful place.
yeah,
And every year I go there, they seem to have advertising, restaurants, expensive food, and you just think it's losing. It's not a fringe anymore. It's a promotional
yeah,
event,
yeah,
and the poor working class comedians. If a fringe is for everybody, there was an interview with, I think they were a band last year on the television, and they'd won £10,000. And the interviewer said to them, "What are you going to spend the money on?" And they said, "Well, it'll pay towards the rest of the accommodation." So they couldn't even spend it. And you
yeah,
just think something's very wrong. But God forbid if it ever folds, because it's
yeah, of
such
course.
a wonderful thing. But it could be in danger of eating itself unless things are capped.
Yeah,
I think
uh,
I totally agree with you. The other
yeah,
fringes and festivals, I enjoy them as much. I mean, I love it wherever I go, but they are particularly Leicester, and Hastings is good. I know Chris and Jake very well. They've been on here, the directors. Hull is really good. And they're all they're wanting to do is to do what I'm doing, promoting this wonderful art form. And expense is like, well, we're not. I don't
It's
know. I don't know what the answer is, but
it's tricky because it should
yeah,
be like a friend. Well, you probably know him, Toby Haddock in Manchester, who does
yeah,
Excess Malarkey.
yeah,
I did his gig a while ago, and he was talking about Edinburgh, and he referred to it as a trade show, which I think is
yeah.
a good way of looking at it. But yeah, like the idea that you could go up year after year and like refine a show and get to the point where you're winning an award. It's sort of it feels like now it's like a one and done kind of thing because of the price. But I would say, yeah, I totally agree. Like, it's so much fun as well. Like, it's definitely worth
Oh,
the
it's
money going
amazing.
up.
It's
And like
amazing.
it's surprising as well how quickly you get into that feeling of like being at the fringe and just like it's like a holiday, but you are working as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
everything's so much fun. Like, it's great. But yeah, like you say, I hope it doesn't get to the point where it just eats itself, like you say.
It'll be such a shame because it's such a joyous thing.
Yeah,
As soon as you step off the train at Waverley, it just sort of like hits you,
yeah.
and it's like this is incredible, and we always see there's a mixture of stuff. We see music, we see mainly comedy. The hot ticket this last year was The Last Laugh, the play with Eric Morecambe and
Oh, cool.
Tommy Cooper and Bob Monkhouse, three actors playing them. It was phenomenal. We managed to see Amy Gledhill, who got the best show. We saw the best newcomer, who I know very well,
Joe,
Frankie Monroe, who I love. I
that
first saw
show's
him
so
at
good.
Hull last year. He's a lovely guy who plays him. He's just an ordinary kid, and then he transforms into this extraordinary act.
Frankie.
So there's so many finds, and I love seeing unknowns as well. There's a complete mixture. That's why the blog exists. It's not just the big hitters. It's like I'm trying to support everybody. That's why there's so many on the blog.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great.
to date, what's been your comedy highlight? Have you had one?
I mean, every single gig, Rich. I
Lots of comedians say this.
I mean, take that as read. That's obviously this. Yeah.
Thank you.
But then, aside from this,
Yes.
so I about I don't know, maybe I was like 2 or 3 years into doing comedy, but I got to interview Joe Brand because I worked at a bookshop and she had a book out, and like
Wow.
my manager was like, "Oh, you like comedy? You do it," and I was like, "Yeah, that'd be amazing." So I like
Ah,
read her book the night before, like because it was just given the interview like the day before, um, yeah, and then she came in, like we spoke for about an hour before the interview, which was great because she's from Hastings as well,
yeah.
and there's a bit in her book where she talks about running through the door of a pub and then running out of the other door in that pub as her parents were chasing her. And I knew which pub that was because I'd done the same thing when I was a
Wow.
teenager, right, growing up there. Um, and I think she's another one that, like, I think for years people assumed that her on stage persona was who she is, and like it's totally the opposite because, like, maybe in the '90s and stuff, she had like this like slightly more combative, I guess, or like people saw her as like kind of mean, but like she's totally the opposite. She's so nice.
Yeah.
And like there was a book that I'd reserved by oh man, I can't remember his name. That's really embarrassing. The guy who does Infinite Monkey Cage.
Um. Robin Ince.
Yes, yeah. I always want to say Ian, but it's Ince that. Yeah,
Robin Ince. He's brilliant. Yeah.
yeah. And his book's great as well. It's all about like how your brain, how a comedian's brain is different to
Yeah.
normal people's. Like it's really interesting. But she bought me that book because I said like I'm reserving it to like have enough money to get it. And then at the end of the interview, she was like, "Look, I've bought that for you." Like gave me the £20
Oh,
to
how
buy it.
lovely is that?
Yeah, like so nice. And just stuff like that. It's like this is like a real moment. And then if I may do one other quick one. Um,
Please.
so I do a bit of writing for Radio 4, like every now and then on the
Yeah.
topical shows, which is like totally different from my on stage act. And it's like you just write jokes. But I wrote on the last episode, like last ever episode of the Now Show, and then there was like a
Brilliant.
drinks reception at the Radio Theatre. I was just mad because like me and my friend Jade were there, and like Hugh Dennis was giving his speech, being like, "It's been a great run. really appreciate everyone. I'm just sort of looking around like when I started comedy, I didn't think I'd be in a position where like, this guy who I saw on My Hero and like Mock the Week and stuff would be like addressing a group of people and I was one of them. I was like, yeah, yeah, you're welcome.
That's fantastic.
It's a real like one of those, like I say, like you kind of step outside of yourself and go, this is really
Wow.
cool. Like,
That is amazing. I've been wanting to talk to Joe Brand for years. I've been a fan since she started, really,
yeah,
when she first came to London. I think when I first came to London, she is just one of the greatest. She's
yeah,
so good and just completely at ease with her audience. And with the Now Show, I used to go to a lot of recordings. I love all that, and you'll like this. The questions that they have when you walk
yeah.
in, and there's a question on the seat that you've got to answer. This particular week, it was what's the most stupidest thing that's ever happened to you at school? And the guest on the Now Show that week was John Culshaw, right?
Nice.
So I wrote, which is true, when I was in the sixth form, I fell asleep and some bastard tipexed my glasses, and when I woke up, I thought I'd died, right?
That is written funny.
So, so John Culshaw read this out in the voice of Alan Bennett, and it got on radio. That was a highlight for me.
That's amazing.
But the Now shows are wonderful. I like the Now show and I like the news quiz.
Yeah,
I love Ian Smith guesting on the news quiz. He's one of the best new guests on it.
well,
But
he was a writer on it for a long time, so
oh, brilliant!
he
Yeah,
would write jokes for the presenter. So yeah, when
yeah.
he's on it, he's just like such good value. I think Glenn Moore as well. He does really well
Yeah,
on
he's
the news
superb.
quiz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're both been on here.
Yeah.
Um, uh, um, so, do you have any ambitions following on from that? Do you have any ambitions as a comedian? Now, by this I mean, would you like to be on TV hosting a quiz show, something like that, or would you like? I mean, it's obvious that you want to go on tour, you want to be as exposed as you can, but do you have any specific ambitions?
So, I mean, obviously, all of that would be amazing. I
Yeah,
think there'd have to be a pretty seismic shift in taste for that to come true. Uh, Not that, what I do isn't good and that people don't like it, but I think it is marketable, but it's maybe seen as more of a risk what I do at the moment. But then seeing someone like Joe, do so well with Frankie Monroe, like, you
yeah.
see someone like that, and you're like, well, that is really funny, really marketable, but like that's for TV people and the decision makers in comedy, it's a big risk for them to have gone so hard on that. Or like even for him winning the BBC competition, like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's quite an unusual act to win that sort of competition. So yeah, I would like all of that. That would be great. Yes, please.
Yeah, it's. I think out of all the questions I ask, it's like the most obvious because yes, you want to be cheating again.
Well, if I could, sorry, I was going to say as well, just on top of it, that I think when I started, I had this ambition of like all those kind of things and making my living out of comedy. But then the more that's come true, like often for me, the gigs that pay the best are often like the worst to do, like,
Right.
just because of certain things. And I kind of realized that I'm actually happier if I'm doing what I want to do. So I think my ambition now is to just kind of be a comedian that like my audience don't really know what to expect, but that there's always going to be something coming. So I'm doing a gig on I think next Friday, it's 18th of October, called the Carl Carzana of the Year Comedy Competition, and it's a
I've
competition
seen
I put
that
on.
advertised.
I've been
Yeah,
like hammering it for a couple of months,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but only I'm allowed to enter it, so only I can win. And
It's a great idea.
I've had so much mileage out of it. Every time I've gone to a gig, everyone's like, "Here he is, the best Carl Carzana of the year." I'm like, yeah, thanks, guys. But yeah, people have really embraced it, which has been really nice. But I just want to do more stuff like that, where I do things that surprise people and like kind of put my head above the parapet a bit and like slightly take the mickey out of the industry, but also just try and achieve the things I want to do, but in a roundabout, sneaky way. Like I'd like to do a tour. This is probably something I'll try and arrange for like later next year. And I always think like the thing we're doing a tour is that you don't know if you're going to have an audience at every venue. So I'd like to do a tour, but I take the audience with me and we do like a road trip, and we all just stay at each other's houses. So like like six, maybe like six people in the audience, but we all just like sleep over, and I
You
do
should
a
have
different
me
show for
there
every
going
each
to
night.
every one.
Yeah, we'll get a minibus, like just half a dozen people, and like I think it'll be quite funny if it's in a big theatre and it's like, yep, six people
Yeah, yeah.
tonight, full house.
I was once at an Edinburgh show, and the comedian will remain nameless. And I was with a reviewer friend of mine who was he had to review the show for the newspaper, and there was me, him, and another. There was a drunken bloke in the front row, three people, and the comedian bounded on and went, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there's only three of you in the audience. Thank you so much for coming along. I'm going to buy you all a drink and we'll just abandon the show. Thank you very much." The bloke in the front row went, "No, I've paid my £6. I want the hour." And he had to do it. The show must go on.
I think that like sounds like a more sometimes like six people that are like well up for it can be
Yeah,
a much better gig than like 300 who hate
yeah,
you.
very much so. Very
I
much
think it's
so. I
fun.
totally agree. Yeah. Who makes you laugh? Who are your favourite comedians, past and present? Did you have comedy growing up?
We did. So in my house, it was not necessarily like stand up. Probably like the first stand up I saw was like Peter Kay, who I do think is
Wow.
a good comedian, but he's not really my favorite. I mean, like my brother had his video and I just sort of put it on. But my mum took me to see like Lee Evans when he was on tour. We saw Rob Brydon when he did stand up. That was like fun.
Yeah.
I've made a list because I didn't want to forget any of them.
Good
So
man. I'm
I
all
just read them
ears.
out. So yeah, Steve Martin, like we've already
Yeah.
established. Vic and Bob, Harry Hill, Norman Wisdom was one because I used to watch
Good
those.
call.
Like they were just the videotapes we had in the house when I was a kid, and I remember watching On the Beat, and I was just like, this was really fun and silly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's kind of influenced me quite a lot. Um, Caroline Aherne, Victoria Woods, French and Saunders, Mark Silcox, Spencer Jones, Poppy Hillstead, Kerry Godliman. There's a lot more, but those were like the ones that kind of came to mind immediately as well.
We are parallel, my friend. I would put, there must be a good load of that in my article. The
Oh,
moments,
cool.
Kerry Godliman, I absolutely love. I just
She's
think she
incredible,
can do
yeah.
no wrong. She can
Like
do no wrong. She's wonderful.
it's weird
Um,
as well because my style of comedy is more alternative, I think. Like you said, it's a bit left field. But
yeah,
she's so good. And she's more of like a club comic, but
yeah,
her material is just so good and she performs it so well. I think because she
yeah,
acts as well. You
yeah,
just watch her and you're like, you're amazing. Even if like but also her material is like more intricate than you would see, I think, from most club comics. Like it's not
yeah,
as
yeah,
that she's not really covering the same stuff. Or she is, but it's more unique. I don't know. I don't know how she
yeah,
does it. It's
yeah.
really,
She's
really good.
there's something very special about her, and
Yeah.
there's loads. The first ever gig I saw was Les Dawson, age
Oh,
7,
cool.
and he was just phenomenal. And then a year later, I saw Tommy Cooper, and I got the bug, and I just started making lists of everybody I saw, and French and Saunders, as you say. Rick Mail, I saw in Carlisle. He was incredible. Bill Hicks, I saw in Manchester. On and on and on and on. And then when I came down to London, the Comedy Store, the first night there, I saw there was wonderful people like Linda Smith. God bless her. She was wonderful, a wonderful wordsmith. Jeremy Hardy, and
Oh, cool.
it's just magic that you find all this new talent, and it's so vibrant even to
Yeah.
this day. There's so many people wanting to have a go and doing it. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It's when
Um,
you find a comic as well that you really like, it's like they're talking to you with
yeah,
what they're
yeah,
saying on stage. Like with Steve Martin, his book, in the intro, he perfectly describes for me what it's like when you're on stage and an idea comes into your head.
yeah,
And like after that, I was like, well, I have to read the book because that's just like word for word what it's like.
yeah.
And that feels really amazing when like somebody else is like doing something that totally, yeah, just speaks to you.
It's so good. It's so good. And following on from that, like me, have you or do you go to a lot of comedy gigs as a member of the audience?
I'm assuming this is probably quite a common answer. Not really.
No. Even I can't go every night.
I think I do enjoy watching comedy, but I think when you're putting on gigs, doing gigs as well, like the like if you're not doing the gig, I will sit in the audience feeling like I'd like to be up there doing it, especially if you
Yeah.
see someone that you don't think's that great. You're just like, man, I'd have done so much more with that.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there. I just tend to sit in silence. um, so, would you say that if you were on a comedy bill, if you were first on the bill, would you stay and watch the other acts?
Yeah, I think depending on circumstances, like quite a lot of the time, if I'm traveling, because where I've been most sort of like based in the south, you usually about like an hour, 2 hours drive from where the gig is.
Yeah,
And if that's the case, I think if I leave in the interval, then it's the difference between getting back at like 12, 1 or like 2, 3.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so in those sort of circumstances, I would probably leave.
yeah.
But like with this gig the other night, it was just a new material night, and I was staying over in Brighton, so that's when it's really fun because it's like you can have a drink and like
You stay
see friends
over.
that
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
like have see friends that you've not seen for a while, and like it becomes more like a social thing. So I think it's like it's whether it's a job or a social thing. Like if I'm getting paid and like the gig's ticketed and everything, it's like I'm my job isn't really to be the audience, it's to go and do the gig and then go home. But if it's like more of a like a not paid one, but I'm like trying material or doing stuff like that, then I see it more like a bit of a party and I stay and like chat.
good
Um,
for you.
but yeah, so yeah, it depends on the gig, but yeah, a lot of the time I do leave.
Good man, good lad, good man. Um, I've so much enjoyed talking to you. It's been
That's
an
been great.
absolute joy. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you. Cheers. I hope I didn't like ramble too much. Like once I get on a thread, I'm like
I love it. I so ramble. Don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. Just before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say? So, what is your social media handle, for example? Have you got any podcasts? Have you got any writing, any tours, anything like that?
Sure. So my social media is at Carl Carzana, the comedian. So I thought it would be funny to clarify that I'm a comedian. Like, even though I've got
Why?
quite,
We already know.
I thought as well, like, because I got quite an unusual name. Like, there's not going to be any other comedians called Carl Carzana. So I was like, that's a funny joke, man. Like the comedian.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's me, like Carl Carzana, the comedian. Carzana is Carzana, and it's Carl with a C. So yeah, I tend to post most things on Instagram, and that's where you can find most of what I'm up to. So I've got Boaston Show, which I've mentioned already. That's November the 29th is the next
Yeah.
one. And then the comedy competition that I'm doing in Brighton as well on October the 18th. I've got a couple of podcasts as well. There's one called Who's Calling Please, which I really enjoyed. I pretend to be like a slightly older, more doddery version of myself, and I've got like a brand new 3210, but I've lost all the numbers off it. So a comedian phones, and then I have to guess who it is through like an improvised conversation. Um,
Brilliant.
I mean, yeah, I had some great people in there like Christian Lagarde, not Benedict Cumberbatch, Benedict, no, Bennett Kavanagh. Benedict Cumberbatch is not a comedian.
He's an
Uh,
actor.
yeah, yeah. Had Helen Barr as well. Like,
Yeah,
so yeah, there's that, and then I did another one called The Joy of Set. Similar to this, I talked to comedians about how they put a set together.
yeah.
So they're both on like Spotify and iTunes. And then yeah, I think that's mainly it. I mean, yeah, mainly come to Boast and Show and the competition to see if I win. That's like the main two things at the minute.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, my friend, genuinely, you are a big comic talent.
Thank you very
I'm a
much.
big, big fan. When I saw you at Surf So Funny, you were the funniest thing on that night. I want to see you again very, very soon.
Well,
And I
come
wish you,
to Boast and Show and the competition. I'll give you a ticket.
you're a good man. And I wish you every success. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, thanks, Rich. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All the best to you. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.